Now, as we talk about the growth in digital economy in emerging countries, we've just heard there how well Pakistan is positioned. But it came with a bit of a warning that we need to maybe speed up here in case we get left behind. And that, when we're looking at an emerging economy that has been emerging for a while, but I think we've never seen such tremendous opportunity, it is time to get on the highway, big time. So I have a fabulous panel that's going to come up here, and we're going to be talking just about the growth of digital economy in emerging countries. So if I could please invite our panel to the stage. Please welcome the Senior Vice President and Managing Director for Middle East and North Africa for SAP, Ahmad Al-Faifi. Ahmad is in the house, so if you can maybe take the far one there. Thank you so much. From Capita UK, the Chief Growth Officer, Ismail Amla. Ismail is here. You're just going to take any seat. Okay, whatever seat you're comfortable on. My moderator will have a bit of a challenge finding you after that. Okay, so that's fine. I'm going to keep this seat here, so nobody sit on the seat closest to me. The CEO of Daraz, the Alibaba Group company, Dr. Jonathan Doerr. So Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. If I can move you over further. From Inbox Business Technologies, the CEO, Nasir, joins us now. You have a little journey to come, Mir, but please join us here. And from CISCO, distinguished engineer and founder and chief technology officer of Viptela USA, Khalid Raza. Okay. And now I'm going to leave this great panel looking at the growth of digital economy in emerging countries in the very capable hands of a gentleman who has a long and distinguished career in technology and management consultancy in the Middle East and beyond. So please, a very, very warm welcome to Global Management Consulting Executive, Asif Akram.
I want to start with some facts. I want to challenge, there are going to be a lot of panels over today and tomorrow. I think this panel has traveled the most hours to get to Pakistan. So get to Islamabad, big hand. And this is a challenge. Keep thinking. We have somebody from UK, somebody from Saudi, somebody from Dubai, I can say that. And of course, Karachi, and then from US. So if we calculate the hours and the flights that change, we are going to win. So we started with this optimism of winning. And that's what this whole two-day event in my mind is. It is about that optimism that we will bring to Pakistan and get us rolling on the right paths on the various agendas that we are discussing. I'm going to state some facts. A country of 200 million plus population, correct? We can't argue with that. Somebody will say 250, but I'll say 200 million plus. A country, Raza said 30% banked, all right, maybe 40 million bank accounts, 20 million branchless wallets. All right, we can live with that. Another fact, 150 million mobile subscribers. 150 million. Fastest mobile adoption in the world. Fastest. So important to know that. And top 5 growth markets for connectivity in the industry. So in the spirit of optimism, I'm not going to state other numbers around it, that is missing people on banks, missing people on this area, but all I want to state with these facts is that there is a huge opportunity that we are talking about. I also went and looked up what is digital economy. Before Asfar in a nutshell asked me to talk about this, I probably didn't know the definition. Everybody knows what digital economy is. So I looked it up. Digital economy is utilize, and I'll read it so I don't get it, utilization of digital technologies for economic purposes. This is not to create new economy. This is to transition the economy to the technology. This is also sometimes called internet economy. Thus, for the purpose of this discussion, let's keep in our head the digital economy is converting our current economy into digital. $5.2 trillion of global digital economy. Pakistan's share, Dr. Jonathan doesn't agree to me, it's less than 100 million. He thinks it's far less. Again, let's look at the opportunity size. It's absolutely huge. With this great panel, and I'm not going to go and introduce each one of them, what my goal is to get 3 things done. Actually, 4th one I'll talk about in the end. First, let's see what technology can do for us in an emerging economy, an emerging country, to make us all digital. Second, talk about some of the benefits and challenges that come along with the technology. Sorry, I don't want to be in front of the panel. And third, we're going to ask each one of them to quote us an example on how they've seen it working, where they've seen it working, so we can learn from that. And finally, my personal goal out of this is that we'll get 5 actions out of these 5 gentlemen here, 5 actions, which we'll get a white paper done and submit it to the government, get it marketed for Pakistan, that how we can move to a digital economy and what are the things that, we know broadly what are the things we're going to do, but we're going to make it actionable. So this is not just a panel for discussion, a presentation for the sake of presentation. We will get something out of it. So I stop here, and what I forgot is I wanted to thank Nutshell, Asfar, the whole team. Everybody's talked about their team. Brilliant, the way they've got everybody together. So thank you very much. Now, I start off with a panel. Each one of you have 2 minutes to introduce the topic. Ismail, you're sitting first.
Yeah, thank you for that. I should have sat over there. So thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction here. Great to be here, first time in Islamabad. I think actually that some of the things you talked about points to the fact that Pakistan has an opportunity to get competitive advantage because of what you described. And I think there's 2 mega trends that are impacting the competitive nature of how the digital economy will work, where Pakistan is very well placed. One is counterintuitive. One is that the lack of an infrastructure of any sort, the lack of developed regulation, actually is an advantage as you think about employing new technologies and new business models. And so there's no worry about integrating with any legacy or thinking about how you're going to comply with the regulation. And very quick example, everybody's been talking about the mobile. I think in most of Asia, the data will tell you that we went from no mobile to smartphone, or no phone to smartphone. The landline didn't come into it. And the World Bank will tell us that there's more smartphones now available in Asia than there is people who have access to clean water. Yeah. So it's a massive implementation. So this lack of infrastructure, I think, is a big thing. The second thing that drives competitive advantage is just basic demographics, which is that if you look at the people under 30, 90% of those people live in the emerging world, emerging economies, 90%. And that's the community that is going to be most tech-savvy, most open to different sorts of approaches, and most open to consume what you have described as the digital economy. So I just wanted to start off by saying that there is a window, and we've talked about the window. It's a huge opportunity to take advantage of the position that you're in.
All right, great. I'll go to the end. Khalid, what do you see? How do you want to introduce this topic? You've got a great background with infrastructure. You've lived with internet for many, many years. So let's go out to you.
So I think if you look at the biggest disruption that is happening is in the software industry. And when you look at the population of Pakistan, 202 million people, data is the next oil. How efficiently you're able to create and monetize that data is going to be able to drive different business models. So when I look at the country of 202 million people, where you're saying 100 million people are connected through cell phone, I see tremendous opportunities. And if you look at a couple of the 3 major industries in Pakistan, number 1 is your textile, number 2 is agriculture. And I think in everywhere in the world, there is that industry that is not talked about. It's the healthcare industry.
Absolutely.
So if you look at the larger healthcare ecosystem, if research work is done and Pakistan has a proper digitization health policy, I see a tremendous growth and opportunity in that sector, in this part of the world, because look, the more data you're able to create, verifiable, authentic data, the more opportunities you'll have to teach your people to create software around it, and also an opportunity to actually monetize that data efficiently into research institutions and the farmers. So I think Pakistan should have a very strong digital health policy, which I feel can drive new business models for this country.
Perfect. Well said. Mir.
Yeah, so
Inbox technologies.
Yeah, I hope, yeah. So basically, you know, because we've been working in Pakistan for the last 18 years, so I can give you a front row seat into how technology or what role technology can play. From an opening remarks perspective, I very strongly believe that most of the challenges that an emerging economy has, or emerging country like Pakistan has, can actually be solved through technology. Now, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's citizen services, like the minister mentioned in the afternoon today, taxation, digital taxation, technology, barring, you know, second to good policies, is probably the biggest driver to solve all your problems. And I think that is the singular most idea that every private and public sector key decision maker should have in their head. That if you're trying to solve a problem today, in the 21st century, whether it's emerging or developed economies, technology will be the key answer for it, right? I mean, e-commerce solved a lot of problems. In a country like ours, looking at our demographics, if you look at just education and healthcare, then you know, solving the education problem, one of the biggest ways to solve it is distance learning. The brick and mortar will not work anymore. We just don't have that much time, right? Similar with healthcare, telemedicine, right, or remote healthcare. It cuts that barrier that we traditionally would have.
Great point.
So I think in the end, technology is the biggest component of solving our issues today.
Great points. So Ahmad, I'll go to you. Ahmad's flown from Saudi Arabia. Again, number of hours count in my panel. So farther you come from, better you are, but you go ahead now.
Yes. First, thank you for inviting me to this important event. I'm very pleased and honored. When it comes to digital, I think nobody is arguing whether it is important for economy or not. I think it is answered by, but I wanted to bring the purpose from the context of Pakistan, which add more flavor to what is the purpose. And some of my colleagues already highlighted this, but if you look to Pakistan, 200 million plus, 2/3 are living outside the urban area. They are in rural area. And they need to access education, they need to access healthcare system, they need to access government, and they need to commerce. And technology is the way to get them connected. It is not practical to assume government can extend all those services to those areas. It is much more cost efficient and viable and important to extend digital to those citizens. And they contribute. Second, 2/3 of Pakistanis are below the age of 30. Which is important as well. And those people are very empowered. They're empowered by knowledge they have. They know how to deal with internet. Digital is there in their DNA. And in order to provide them the services they need, and also to get their contribution, you need to provide digital services to them, because this is what they are expecting. High expectation from them. At the same time, they are the asset that will make this work. And third element is the businesses and government. His Excellency Foreign Affairs Minister mentioned the agriculture and how important for this country. So if you think about it from the context of digital, how to digitize the services there to be more efficient from one side, provide customer experience from other side, and be more competitive, because you have competitors as a country. You have other countries competing with you on this. And SMEs are the same. They need to access technologies. All countries in developing economy or emerging economy, they always talk about SMEs and how they contribute to the economy, and they need to access these technologies and be able to be more efficient and more agile and viable and able to provide their services. So the digital is very important for Pakistan at this time, more than any time before.
Great points. Last but not least, I've saved the best for the last. I'm your customer. The strap came from Daraz. So Dr. Jonathan, I don't know who else is a customer in here. Give us your view. I know you're deep into it. E-commerce is a very critical part of digital economy.
Yeah. So I would like to start. I know I'm coming to Pakistan for almost 4 years now. I know this country very well. I know that Pakistanis are very critical also. So I actually want to start and actually talking about what's already actually working today and what's actually already digitalized, of course, in our business model especially. So who knows what Daraz is in this room?
I do.
Good. Who has already shopped on Daraz? That's good. So of course we're known as an e-commerce company, but what does it actually mean, right? We're a marketplace, so we're shipping in Pakistan now. So we're in 5 countries actually. We're in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. And in Pakistan, we're shipping today already over 1 million packages every month to consumers across the nation. But we cannot do this alone. We're in an ecosystem, and we need the partners. And what we do is all based on technology. So we have on our platform over 15,000 sellers in Pakistan that went through our Daraz University, that we educated to use our platform to actually sell their products online. They put their products online themselves. When the order comes in, they process the order. So we digitalized actually these 15,000 sellers to actually do business across the nation. And then, of course, we're reaching millions of customers across the nation that have our app on their mobile phone. And I think this is also something very special compared to developed markets, is mobile is really leapfrogging quite fast. So, for example, today, already over 90% of our business from the customer side is happening on a mobile phone. That's not happening in the US or in Europe. So we actually jump way faster to this development. Over 80% of the people shopping our platform are doing this on the app, not even only on the phone. They actually do this on the Daraz app. And they find over 3 million products already on our platform. And where can you find that in Pakistan at the end on this little device with an immediate access? And this is all technology. And last but not least, now I talked about the sellers that we digitalized, that we educated around how do you make business actually online. We talked about the customers that we still need to educate to trust e-commerce, to trust the payment systems, and also digitalize them. But then one of the most important parts is how does the product actually go from A to B, and how does it actually reach the customer? And here we come to the third part of digitalization. We work with logistics companies across the nation to bring actually packages from A to B. We also build our own logistics company because we see that there is a lot of opportunity in the bigger cities. We're already present in 15 cities in the nation, and have around 500 own riders that also deliver to the country. So you see that technology, yeah, when you talk about Daraz, okay, it's an online, it's e-commerce, but actually technology is really in our DNA, and we educate and we bring technology to the sellers, to the customers, and of course to the logistics companies, because only if everything works together, then our ecosystem is successful.
Brilliant. So I think from round one, there are some keywords that echo to me. Mobiles, so accessibility, and what we can do with them, and we've got lots of mobile connections. Everybody talked about our population, the opportunity there of our youth under 30. Everybody talked about the opportunity of technology, talked about industries like education and healthcare, and this is all going to become the basis. So I think that's a great round one. Let's now take this forward. I'm not going to go and dwell into the technology part that much. What I want to cover now is what, in your opinion, are benefits. We talked about some of them already, but let's just cover some of them. But the real challenges of converting a country like Pakistan into a digital economy, so converting our traditional economy to a digital economy. Now, where I will start is, we'll start from that side this time. Khalid, your views, all your experience with CISCO, tell us, Viptela, and the ideas, and what are the benefits and challenges that you saw, and how do you relate it back to Pakistan?
So if you look at it, there are multiple aspects in the current time frame. One of the things I was in Karachi last week talking to NED University guys. If you look at Silicon Valley, where I come from, the culture of innovation is what thrives and what drives. I started a company called Viptela in 2012. with a $0 market in this whole software-defined networking. As of Gartner, 2020, software-defined wide area would be $8 billion market. And CISCO acquired us last year, seeing the potential of our network transformation. One of the things I really feel when I was talking to the students at NED is engineering culture has to be glorified. I'm a hardcore engineer. Last time I wore a suit was probably at my wedding. And I'm wearing it today. Yeah. So I've noticed consistency that how we need to create a culture larger driven by university, innovation, and especially around computer science. There are things that will, as a consumer of technology, you can create, but the most efficient or most exciting thing for any society is the creation of technology. So what I feel is there has to be focus where the investors have to look at, and 80% of startups fail, where the culture of innovation and engineering has to be glorified. And that's what I feel transforms society, because that's the biggest driver of Silicon Valley. Like geeks like me who wear slippers are the glorified people who everybody talks to. Google came out of geeks. Facebook came out of geeks. So from that perspective, if you want bigger transformations to come out, at times, converting society mindset from consumers of society to creators of technology would be a big leap forward, and that has to get into the academics, and at a larger scale, bringing out stories of how to create and generate new revenue models using newer ideas of technology.
So I love what you said, from consumer of technologies to creator of technologies. I think that's a good tagline we should use. Ahmad, your views of some of the challenges and benefits that come from it.
I think for benefits, maybe it is more or less covered. So it is obvious that digital is
yeah, let's talk about some of the challenges.
So let me talk about a bit of challenges also from the context of Pakistan. I think, and also I believe that Pakistan needs to look into the best practices on a similar countries and look into the failures more than successes, because you wanted to avoid, and that will slow your progress in this. And if we look at it from this angle, I think the infrastructure is something need to be addressed. I know that the penetration is very good in the mobile side, and still on the data side, it is still need to be developed. Around 25% they have data access, but also the infrastructure that will enable SMEs and businesses to access the technologies. This is important. Everybody's talking cloud now, and there is it is cost efficient to start with, but also all latest technologies that will help any economy are now based on cloud. And SMEs need to access this through fibers. And fiber penetration is very important. And there are many creative ways of extending fibers. In a country like Saudi Arabia, they allow non-telco companies to provide fiber access, like the electricity companies, for example, or military. They are merging their networks to make infrastructure much more available and easy. So I think this area needs to be addressed, because in order to move forward with your digitization agenda, you need people to access the proper technology, and they need the connectivity. So maybe I highlight...
deep telco expertise of Zen and Ericsson is coming into play here.
Yeah. Yes. So I recommend this to start with as a challenge. And
all right, great. Yes. Jonathan.
So on the challenges, I think, and I talked already a little bit about it, but I want to bring some examples, because I think that's also already mentioned on the right and the left from my side. We need, like, the biggest problem in our infrastructure, when you just bring two examples of our business model, is on the seller side and on the logistics side. So on the seller side, I would be happy if we can talk about cloud, but I need to make sure that my seller actually knows what his inventory is, right? So there we see there's a lack of technology systems, of understanding of how do I actually make sure that when someone orders on Daraz that this product is really with the seller, and that is, oh, I actually sold it already 2 days ago to someone else in my store, right? So I think it's really about these, and we have sellers we have 18-year-old kids selling on our platform making $50,000 a month, up to big companies. So I'm talking really through the business, like young people, SMEs. I think the young people are actually fine when it comes to the technology.
Did you say $50,000 or 50,000 rupees?
$50,000 in GMV.
Wow. I need to change my job.
Daraz, you can sell on Daraz. That's not a problem.
Just asking.
So
I need to change.
No, it's a great it's a great example. This guy is he needed to go back. He's supporting his family. He's the only one. His father died. He's the only one that supports the family. He's selling mobile accessories on our platform. So. But the SMEs, like the sellers, the traditional sellers that came to our platform that maybe closed even their offline shop and now sell online because they can sell across the country, we need to make sure that we digitalize them, that we give them the technology, that they know what their inventory is, that they know, and that's what we say. We train them on our system, but they also have their own systems, and sometimes, and most of the time, they don't. So that's one big part that is super important for us in the ecosystem. The second part is the logistic part. And also I want to bring here a very clear example. I'm pretty sure the people that already ordered on e-commerce, one of the most important questions for you after you order the product is, where is my product? And then maybe you send an email, or you chat with us, or you call us, and then you want to find out where your product is. And for us, it's actually quite complicated sometimes to find that out. It's because we work with tons of logistics companies, also with the big companies, with the TCS, LCS, and the integration, the technology integration is quite complicated. And these companies don't know all the time where the package is. Sometimes we need to call them, and it takes them a day to tell us where the package is. These are very clear examples where we see the ecosystem doesn't work if we not bring the technology, and for us, we're in that ecosystem, and that's a huge challenge. One of the reasons also why we built our own logistics company with 500 riders today is because we have that challenge, and the bigger we get, the more we grow. As I said, 1 million packages a month now, the bigger this challenge actually gets. So these are two examples out of our ecosystem that is very explicit a challenge for us where technology plays a big role. But I also wanted to add one point to the advantages that we have in a developing country like Pakistan is, you talked about landlines before. I think we will overcome that time of landlines. We will overcome that time of really established brick and mortar stores. I think we will jump very, very fast into e-commerce. And I always say that to people that ask me from where I'm from Europe, like, okay, e-commerce in developing countries, like, how does that work, and do people have enough money? These are the questions that I get. And I said, guys, to be very honest, e-commerce in Pakistan and in the region that I'm working in is even more important than in Europe or in the US. You can go to every store and everything is there. In our regions, Pakistan is 2,000 kilometers from north to the south. There is maybe 3 or 4 malls, but that's it, and that's for the people in the big cities. It's 220 million people that live across that nation. So e-commerce, I think, has even a bigger impact to our countries. And again, that will be then the technology. So I think the situation that developing countries are in today, technology will actually help them to jump even ahead of what we see today in developed countries. I said that already on the mobile penetration and people shopping on apps. That's very natural, and that's not happening in Europe or in the US.
And so two challenges you point out which are important is building infrastructure for sellers and doing something on our logistics, which is important.
Yeah.
And your challenge was around infrastructure, and we talked about talent and creation. So Ismail, your views?
Yeah, so I think looking forward, there's a data point that I just saw on a McKinsey report where they say in the next 3 years, there's going to be a billion brand new people coming onto the internet. And out of the billion brand new people, 900 million are in emerging economies.
Wow.
Now, this individual, when he or she comes on the internet, has everything that somebody sitting in Silicon Valley has. So they have the power of the cloud platform, world computing power on cloud, world knowledge on Google, world products on Alibaba, world skills on crowdsourcing, world assets on crowdfunding. So what's to stop? So now the playing field has been leveled, and I'm reinforcing the point here, which says, what's to stop Pakistan getting competitive advantage from that? And it's skills and culture. There's actually nothing to stop Pakistan getting competitive advantage. And the second point I would make is around culture. It's more than a work culture point, right? I think if you talk to any of the social commentators, they'll say that the amount of change we're going through now as a society is the least amount of change we will ever go through. And so this is about how the society is Pakistan set up to embrace this avalanche of change that's going to present huge opportunity for us. And so, in terms of the big key things I think we need to come back to, it's going to be culture, it's going to be skills, and it's going to be around the ethics of how you want to play. Yeah. And if you look at Silicon Valley, brilliant for new ideas, right now, the Facebooks and the Googles and all those are being questioned as to their intent, their ethics around what they're going to do with the work that they're going to do, right? And this gives us another opportunity to say, we're going to play in this space with this ethical framework around it. So huge opportunity, but I think some big questions to answer.
So challenge around skills, culture, how do we educate ourselves and how do we make sure we're doing it in a proper manner? Yeah. Mir, with Inbox's background, several years there, your views?
So I think my colleague touched upon best practices, right? And we should learn from our neighbors and emerging countries. I think one of the key, I wouldn't say challenge, but area of consideration and focus should be, if you really want to make this work, is policies, right? A lot of our neighboring countries on a government level or public sector level actually put the right policies in place to enable that ecosystem, whether it's mobile, whether it's academia, whether it's investments, and I think individually everybody could make their effort. The private sector can make their effort. The public sector in silos can make their effort. But if you really want to move the needle in Pakistan, if you really want that the digital transformation or tech plays a monumental role in shifting our country, then policy making or the right policy making will be a fundamental part of this. Because if you look at all the indicators, they're moving in the right direction, right? I mean, you got mobile broadband penetration growing. You got a middle class. You got one of the cheapest data rates in the world, which really enables a lot of transformation. You got a huge population. A lot of regional and international players are taking interest in the country now. All of this has to be clubbed in with the right policies, and I keep saying this on multiple forums, publicly as well. It is not just policies for external players to look at us from abroad. It is also from our internal players who have the capacity to make a difference. You look at our neighboring countries, and they're some of the biggest tech giants they have today were traditionally industrial giants, right? And you compare that to Pakistan, and you'll get your answer.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a question that everyone needs to ask themselves. The government needs to first ask themselves, and the private sector needs to ask themselves concurrently, why haven't we been able to follow suit there, right? And to me, this is one of the biggest areas of consideration. I would not call it a challenge, because I really don't see a challenge here. It's a matter of like-minded people sitting together on a table from the public-private sector saying, listen, this is what we got to do. This is what we are willing to give you in order to get this done. And this is the commitment I need from you, right? I think that dialogue's not happening.
I agree.
Right?
I think.
Can I just add a point to this?
Yeah,
so I fully agree on the rules that we need to set in place, and there's a lot of things missing. But I also think it's a challenge to set the right rules. So, for example, if I tax mobile phones more and more because that's working right now quite well to get some money in my pocket, but I actually slow down the growth of mobile phones, and I can tell you we're in Bangladesh in the market, and the growth there is a bit faster when it comes to mobile phones.
I agree with you.
That is critical. And on the other side, if I'm a marketplace, our company is registered in Karachi, my sellers are sitting all over the place. So if there's a customer who orders from Islamabad on a platform that is registered in Karachi from a seller that sits in Lahore, then I have 3 FBRs coming to me and asking me for tax and say, okay, guys, that needs to be regulated. And everyone asks for a different rate, right? These are things where I feel, we need to please regulation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you guys make a great point. And I'm these days advising Systems Limited, which is the largest tech company in Pakistan, 2,500 plus people. And this is exactly what we talk about is why can't our scale be as bigger as our neighboring countries where, the thing has been started, and how can we scale more? So the key point on policy is very good. So here, from a time perspective, we've got about 20 minutes before Ethne comes in and takes us away from the stage. She's going to push us all out. So what I want to do is I want to spend 5-6 minutes on some examples, and we don't have to all have examples, but if you've got, let's talk about it, action plan, and then I want to give audience 2 or 3 questions, because I think if you can, I see people are interested. If they can have a couple of questions, that'll be great. Actually 15, that's what I said, 15. Yeah, I will finish it. See, she's told me already. So, examples. Anyone? Ishmael, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, the example that comes to me is actually from a little while ago, which was in Kenya, where they, I don't know if anybody's been down there and used the payment system. It's called M-Pesa. It was rolled out by Vodafone through the local network services, and it was a bottom-up service. So this is where people underbanked or not banked at all. And as a result of getting people into the financial services system, there's a GDP impact. In fact, in Pakistan, the view is that if you get more people into the financial services system, there's potential 7% upside on the GDP just by getting people into the system. And what they did in Kenya, this is 2007, is they started using the SIM card to store basically digital money. So you go into a shop, you loaded up your SIM card, and then you use that to pay other people. And so this started to become a payment system between the people in the Kenyan society. And then they started to use that to do microfinancing as well, to loan money. And the result of that is, if you fast forward now to 2019, 50% of the country's GDP goes through that particular system, payment system. And the system has already also been credited by lifting people out of poverty, by empowering women, especially women business people, and by taking down the costs of transacting between industries. So actually a great example of a company without any infrastructure, without any regulation, coming up with innovation because they had to do something, which has then become institutionalized. And actually there's a lot of countries across the world looking at whether that's the sort of payment system that they could use.
So that's a great example, and we've all had M-Pesa studies. We've started something in Pakistan already. We've got Jazz Cash, we've got Telnor, Easy-Pesa, and all of that. But it's the question we need to answer ourselves: how do we scale it to that level? And that's I think is the challenge that needs to be answered.
Yeah. And I think one of the areas of interest actually I have lately is the healthcare. If you look at internationally, healthcare is one of the most inefficient IT deployed system regardless of where you are. If you look at the entire continuum of care in the Western market space, you have the payers, you have the providers, which could be an ambulatory care provider, which could be the hospital systems, and then you have the diagnostic lab systems. I think Pakistan should look at this whole non-efficient IT utilized system almost everywhere in the world. And that is why I keep on coming back to a digital health policy. I think it will give us an opportunity to leapfrog, to create a system where these independent entities which play independently today, to create a system which connects them much more efficiently. That, I think, could be a big opportunity. You're providing value-added services to your citizenry, and you're creating a system which is not very optimized globally. That's an opportunity I feel that investment should be done with the IT leaders, with the healthcare leaders, with the Martin Dow type pharmaceutical. I think that's an ecosystem that should be really invested in and put together, heads should be put together to say, this is how we're going to create a system which I think efficiently today doesn't exist, even in the existing market, because of very archaic regulations.
All right, good. I think that's a good one. Look at healthcare and telemedicine and all of those things to bring that whole ecosystem together.
And also big data.
Big data. No, I got it. All right, Jonathan.
So I think the industry, they come up and they need to invest in a lot of areas, and they also do. We talked about mobile wallets, which is of course a big topic here, and I also believe that, again, that's that step where mobile wallets will be bigger in Pakistan than in developed countries, because banking, we only have 1 million credit cards actually, which is super low, 900 active. So I think here the industry, and also on the healthcare, the industry needs to invest a lot, and of course, as I also talked about our ecosystem, we will invest from our side into the different kind of areas to make sure that this will work. We also expect, of course, that we get support in the ecosystem. We cannot build the whole ecosystem ourselves. We're just part of it. But I think, and maybe it's I think this is something where the government and also the society is actually responsible for, which is for me, education. And I think this is a very, very relevant point. There's a lot of technology that we get from everywhere, and there's, of course, like also we belong to Alibaba now, we have a lot of technology that we bring into the company. There's a lot of knowledge that we bring to our 2,000 employees that we have in Pakistan alone. But I think education is something that is very important, because if we don't make people to understand, to use all these technologies that are coming in, like we see when we hire people for Daraz, what kind of challenge this also is today, finding the talents that actually understand the business and the technology that we're operating with. So I think the technology will come in, the investments will come in, the companies are there, but I think we need, and the talents are there, the people are there, we have smart people in Pakistan, but we need the education also on these new technologies, making also the people aware, not only the talents to work in this industry, but also, of course, everyone that wants to consume at some point and wants to interact with technology needs to be educated. We see the biggest, if you ask me what's the biggest challenge in e-commerce in developing countries, it's trust. And trust comes because of lack of, or trust is not there because of the lack of understanding of what is actually there. So I think education, and I'm not talking only about the young students and the people in school, I'm talking actually education in a country to understand technology. I think that's the biggest trigger for me, where we can also invest as a society, from a government, but also from our side, to really make sure that we use all these things that we're getting, we use all these technology that we're getting, and actually, yeah, making us then catching up with the others. And I think that's possible if we do it in the right way.
Yeah, maybe, Asif, I wanted to highlight one of the examples similar to the one highlighted here, which is I think technology need to address a need or a problem, and so that it is solving this problem. One of the major problem in all countries is employment. So the example I wanted to highlight is from my country, Saudi Arabia. The government for years are struggling to find the right formula for unemployment, how to help people, because they lack the transparency. They don't know how many people are going to be graduated that particular year, and what is the vacancies available in the market, and the job matching wasn't there. So they created a platform they called virtual labor market. That was a platform that connect universities so that we have sort of prediction who is going to come to the workforce. And also they connected with the companies from other side, because companies, they are connected to a system which measure how much Saudization they have, how many Saudis in that particular company. So they are connected. And so they connect also all visas, request for visas for specific jobs. They connect to the system, and they connect also the support, because government used to support unemployed people. So they put all these systems together in one engine. It becomes a big data, a lot of data there, and start job matching. And then they add to the system the job or upskilling element, because some of those graduates are not ready to pick the first job. They need a bit of education. So they also connect with the platform that enforce certain additional education on those people who are seeking the job. And then the platform starts working and optimizing. Now, we think, or what the government is believing now, 1.3% improvement, which is a huge, because all data is now, system is helping you to job match. So if there is a vacancy in this company, there are 10 people, they can go straight to the interviews. And on top of that, they add incentive to those companies by sponsoring the salary, 50% of salary for the first year. So then this engine today is the core of employment in the country. No single job is promoted outside this for of course, public sector, but also for private sector. This is addressing a serious need on one particular point. In 30 seconds, another example. We also have seen an example which I like it most because it's relevant to Pakistan, which is related to the tourism. So in tourism, yes. In Barcelona, they created a platform which helped them to connect the tourist people coming. They download the application, and then they are connected to businesses. And then that connected also to the traffic system of the city. So it is a partnership between private sector and government of Catalonia or Barcelona. So the system is trying to optimize your journey or your experience there. If you like Pakistani food, it gives you the best Pakistan food near your location so that you save time of traffic or something like this. And also it helps businesses to promote themselves. If they are not having enough, let us say, a consumption from tourists, then they can promote on the platform. So you'll get a promotion or something on your phone, and then you can go to that location. So it is a live network that help to optimize the experience from one side, but also to drop every dollar out of those visitors. Because it is, again, a competition with other cities, competition with other countries. So this kind of solution is effective and making the big impact and on the business from one side, but also for the customer experience from other side.
Okay, all right, great. So I'm going to skip you on this one, and we'll do action plan just for a time perspective. So just in summary on these examples, we've got the M-Pesa example. Again, we've got something happening. It's a scale. We've got the employment example. I'm sure if we look, we'll have something happening. How do we make sure that works? Tourism is an example. We talked about education, and then we also talked about healthcare in that manner. So one action each, which you would recommend to the private sector and public to do, and we'll create a white paper on it, guys. You should get to see that white paper, most of you. So I'll start, Ismail, yourself.
Yeah, can I have two?
Yeah, you can take two.
The first action would be around...
You came from far away, so you can take two.
First action would be around skills and STEM in particular, so science, technology, maths. In China last year, 2018, they had 4.7 million graduates in STEM, which is 8 times what the US had. So that's the competition arena, if you like. And so I think there should be a policy about going all in on that. And then the second thing is, as an economy, what part of all of this technology do we want to be famous for? And where there is specific skill, and maybe it's healthcare that was talked about earlier, maybe it's e-commerce, whatever it is. But without focus, I think there's a danger of just being another generic provider.
Okay. We'll go in line. Ahmad.
Yeah, quickly also to infrastructure. I highlighted this, very important to give access so that people can access the latest technology and utilize it. But the other recommendation is related to legislation and regulation. In order to attract investment in digital space, that is a core. Because as mentioned earlier, software, it is all IP. There is no physical asset. So you need to protect this IP when you invest in Pakistan. So legislation and infrastructure.
So Jonathan.
I make it very short. I think we need, sorry, I was stealing a little bit of your topic. I think we need the right policies, but not to just stop everything. We need policies that support the digital growth, that support, and of course, I would still go with education. I think we need to educate the market and digitalize the ecosystem to really make things happen. But I think it's a balance act to really, also on the policy, as I said, to find the right balance to support the growth and not stopping the growth. That's a
very good point. Mir.
Yeah, so quickly, I was seeing a five letter there.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, I agree with all my colleagues here. But as part of a policy, one of the key aspects is public-private partnership. My colleague from Saudi Arabia, I had a chance to go to Riyadh, looking to work with a Saudi company. I was blown away by the amount of platforms that Saudis have created. In fact, the immigration at Riyadh was outsourced to a private company. Yeah. And they had done human-centric design around it, and the guy told me, he said, we had done the human-centric design in a way that it should not take you more than 3 minutes to get out of immigration. And I swear to you, it took me 2 minutes to get out of immigration. So as part of the policy making, yes, policies for sure, public-private partnership is a huge element, which has to be taken very, very seriously, because the private sector has all the muscle, has all the ingredients to catalyze anything that the government wants to do. That's one. And secondly, prioritize the issues that you want to solve. So if healthcare is the #1 issue, then the whole focus should be there.
Good idea. Great idea. Khalid.
I'll come back to healthcare. Okay. I think health is a basic need of a larger society, and digitization of healthcare and creating a continuum of care, healthcare ecosystem through private partnership could be a tremendous opportunity, not just to the existing business model, but creating a new business model, as we talked about during the break. That I think that's a tremendous opportunity for this country to leapfrog in that sector.
All right, I think, thank you very much, each one of you. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I'm not going to be able to take questions, but let me just do a 1-minute conclusion. What we've said is, that digital economy is not new economy, it's an economy that we have to transition our current one, our traditional one, to digital. So that's an important aspect. Each one of us has said that there's a huge opportunity. The mobile penetration, the technology, and the e-commerce, it's all started in Pakistan. Now, how do we scale it? The benefits we talked about are huge. We know the challenges, and the action plan around skills, culture, education, infrastructure, policies, and healthcare and other industries is huge. So I think I found it very, very to the point to Pakistan. I think there are a lot of examples that we can see. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody.
And a big thank you for our moderator, Asif.
Thank
Akram.
you.
Please, gentlemen, all stay with us.
You have to stay.
Please, all stay with us for just a moment. We have a family photo, which is essential, but also we do have a token of appreciation. If I could invite Mr. Ikram Segal to the stage, please, the chairman of Karachi Electric and director of East-West Institute. We'll wait for another family photo with your books. Don't worry. We'll let you go in a moment. I promise. now I have put fear into all of them. And Raza, stay with us and we'll get one family picture with everybody with the books. And then, gentlemen, you are free to go. And I've even let you go a little earlier. Have you got them all there?